So this is the portfolio layout 1 part 5, or part D I would call it. So make sure you have what I have up here with it, and I paused the video and kind of freeze the video. I want you to compare line by line and the closing, the tags and everything with it. So when you go into this right now, I just want to show you what this looks like. If I went in here and here's my template, right mouse click, and I'm going to open a default browser, and this is what I currently have right now. Before we move on to the styles.css, I want you to make sure all 5 images have been loaded to this template v1 document. Alright, all 5 images need to be loaded at this time. Alright, so here we go. So let me minimize this, and this is what we currently have right now with it. Alright, and if you recall, I asked you beginning this project is to create a subdirectory called CSS. This directory is under another directory called portfolio, which is the parent directory, portfolio v1 students, and that's a subdirectory of class projects. So I just want to show you what this looks like. Hold on here, see if I can find it. Here. I'm going to look for the desktop, do the sandbox. And this is what the file structure looks like. If you can please make sure you have, here's my IMED 1316 class project. It's a subdirectory, portfolio v1 students is a subdirectory, and underneath it I have all these files belong to this parent directory called portfolio underscore v1 underscore students. That's a subdirectory of class project, and your class project is what contains underneath of IMED's 1316. So before we move on, make sure the images are loaded and your file structure needs to look exactly like this, okay? Alright, so here's where we're going to go. I want you to click on the CSS right now. Click on it, and you're going to come up to the new file. You click on it. I want you to call this new file called styles with an S, STYLES .css for me. Styles .css for me. Can you do that? So this is a style, and styles, the documentation is a little different from what we've been doing. So in HTML, we document by doing this symbol, lesser than, and remember this, and we did this, and we can close it off with this. If you look, not in style, it's not going to work. Style is different, so you got to do a / and an asterisk and a space for block coding, commenting. All this is commented out between. So in here, this is what I need for you to do. So we're going to do a style CSS for the portfolio layout 1. Okay, so this is the CSS file with it. This file is stored in a folder called CSS. Alright, so the first thing I need for you to do in here is, besides making sure that you have all of the other ones set up and everything with it, but a couple of things we need to look at. And I want you to have these 2 lines are kind of like mandatory that you gotta have for all external CSS. The first one is an asterisk. The asterisk shows that you're going to use the box model that we're going to talk about with it. So you're going to put a border, a box size with it. So I'm going to do an asterisk, left curly bracket, opens up my right curly bracket. In between, I'm going to do box. You notice my IntelliSense kicks in here. I'm going to do hyphen, box size, hit tab, and then I'm going to say border box, tab it again. So that's the first definition. I need for you to do the second definition is for body element with it. So anytime I use the body, I'm going to use this attribute called background color tab, and I'm going to give it a color of a pound, F1, and as you can see, my IntelliSense kicks in. Hit enter, and then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to do a padding. I'm going to give it 20 pixel. And then I'm going to do a font family, down arrow key, tab, and then I'm going to do Arial. Now, since I have this on right now, let me talk to you about what this means. This means that if Arial is not found on the workstation that you're on, it's going to go to Helvetica. If Helvetica is not there, it's going to go to Sans Serif, and so on. We're just going to pick one, okay? So I don't need all of this stuff right here with it, so we'll keep it very simple with it. I just want Arial on there, all right? So three attributes and properties that we need to use for that. So make sure that you have this right now for the styles for me. So Control S, the asterisk goes away, and I'm just going to document this as we talk about this with it. Whoops, sorry, wrong one. It's the asterisk. So in every one of your case right now, so we're going to start with the center web site. Okay, center website. So this is right at the center of this thing, stuff with it. So we're going to look at the first thing with it. Remember what we did up here? Let me go back up here. We use a class called main. This is the first one right here. Class main. So I told you there was three types of definitions. You can think about it. And the first definition, if you want to think about it, is an actual element. But this one is called class. The way you represent a class is a dot syntax with this. So I'm going to do dot main. It is case sensitive, so you got to be very, very precise with it. If you lowercase or uppercase, it's two different meaning with it. So I'm going to use max width. My IntelliSense comes in. I'm going to use the maximum width of 1000 pixel. Alright. So that's for the main. And I want to do a margin as well. Down arrow key. Select that. Hit tab. I'm going to do a margin of auto. Tab again. So that's the second one. Well, that's the first thing. Remember that H1 we looked at? So if we did a H1 tag, what tag did we use over here we did H3? So what we need to do is do an H3. So I just want to make sure we have all the H3. Now this is an element. I didn't use a dot syntax. So just to clarify with it, there are three categories of definitions you can do in here with it. I should have explained that to you from the get-go for all this. So let me just come up to the top and just give you some definitions what I'm talking about right now. The first one is what I said is the elements. The second one is class, and the third is called ID. Now the first one, let me just give you place number 1 here. Elements are just the name of the elements with it, body, H1, paragraphs. The second one, class, starts with a period. So a class is what you can think of it. It starts with a period. Okay. And the third one that you're going to see is what's called an ID. Now, ID is unique to, let me start out with it, is only unique to the web page. Okay, so only one uniqueness on that web page with it, and starts with a pound sign. Okay, class starts with a period, and the class applies across from everybody with it. All right, so this is a class right here. This is a class. All right, so this is an element. We just gave it a definition. 3 types of stuff that we just talked about. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is H3 that we just defined over there. You know, an H3 is smaller than an H1, right? H1 is a little bigger with it. So I'm going to do font size in this thing. So down arrow key, hit tab. It kind of fills it in for me, and I'll put in 50 pixel, for example. Okay, so come over here, hit if I want to add another. I want to separate the word out a little bit, so I'll do word break as another feature I like to use. So tab, and then you want to do break all. Tab. So that way it has a little bit more spaces between that with it. So we looked at, again, that little white arrow, little white circle needs to be saved, Control S. Come over here, template. Remember we used the class row now, and class column, and then class content. 3 classes that we're going to actually define in the styles right now. So the next class I want to do is dot row. What do I want to see in my row definition with it as well? So I want the margin. Oops, sorry. Hit tab too soon. Margin. I want the margin. With the margin, I want it to be 8 pixel to 16 pixel. Okay, so that's for the row. The second one is I'm going to add padding between each column. Okay, let me close off that comment with it. So I want to add in this image that you saw over here with it. You know, when we saw the 4 columns in there, I want to add spaces in between there. Now you have to bear with me with the syntax. So you're going to pick this up a little bit more. First of all, I want to do the class row, comma, and then we're going to say class row if it's greater than class column, all right, which you haven't defined the class column yet. If that's the case, you're going to give the padding of 8 pixel. Okay. Now, so you have this right now. Let me scroll this up. The next criteria I want to put is I want to create a 4 equal column in this code. Create 4 equal column that floats next to each other. Okay. So here's my first column definition with a period, column. All right. And I'm going to open that curly bracket up. Inside of that, I'm going to float left. Come down. The second one, I want the width of this to be 25%. Remember before we had 100%? Now I'm only doing 1/4 of that size with it. Come to the right of that. Okay. So after I float all that, I also want to clear the floats after the rows. Okay. So how do I do that? So there's a feature that you can use in row, and you could do colon, 1 colon, all right? 1 colon. After you open up that curly bracket inside, you can set the content, oops, and set the content to to a quote. That's how you. It's empty. That's what you're doing. There's no spaces between the content for the properties with it. The second one is I want you to display the table. Bear with me. You gotta take my word for some of these, and I want you to clear both. All right. I check the time on this thing, but take a look at this. Freeze, pause the video. Make sure you have what I have up here. I don't want to run over time.